Welcome to WCS Talks Unplugged, where we bring you real stories, real solutions for the mind and the planet. This podcast is brought to you by Women in Clean Tech and Sustainability, a global community elevating women's leadership, accelerating climate solutions, and championing a more equitable, clean economy. Every episode, we sit down with the thinkers, builders, and innovators, redefining what climate leadership looks like and doing it with purpose and heart. So settle in, take a breath, and get ready for an honest, insightful conversation that just might spark your next idea, shift your perspective, or inspire your own climate journey. Let's get unplugged.
We're here post SF Climate Week, 10 days of interacting in our community. And we started off with over 450 people at the kickoff at SF Climate Week. Farah, that was one of the keystones of Climate Week, in my opinion. Just the privilege of being in the stadium at Oracle Park with over 450 climate innovators and people that are actively doing things to impact San Francisco, and also being with the other innovators of Yes SF. Farah, what an experience.
I was so giddy, as you remember. I was super excited that we were included as part of the SF kickoff. It was a blast to see the mayor talk, and it was a blast to see the head of Chambers of Commerce to give a shout out to all the climate innovators. We obviously fell into the category of a nonprofit. So it was truly an honor to be present, and we got to see the stadium. We got to be inside the stadium. We had our booth in the dugout.
So some insider intel. Okay, so Farah and I, we got to be in the dugout. But not only did we get to be in the dugout and schmoozing with a lot of elected officials, commissioners, other innovators, but those of you that don't know this, that I'm a trash lover. And upon exiting, I see shiny things, and they're all balers and compactors. And Farah's like, "Don't, you're going to get us kicked out." And I was like, "We're already leaving, so it doesn't matter."
I was holding on to the boxes. I'm like, there's no way I'm going to turn around. I was just like, headed towards the exit, Sarah, come on.
So I run into the trash room, and it's literally like 4 feet away from the exit. And Farah's like, "Come on."
Right, because those items were heavy. We were holding on to the banners and boxes
so much
of
stuff.
T-shirts.
And I run in the trash room, and I start taking pictures of everything, and I get a selfie with me. And Farah was like all stressed out. That was my major takeaway, was you go out the same way you came in.
Now, I feel so privileged to live in the Bay Area and have this amount of exposure, and seeing how active the city of San Francisco is with their commitment for zero waste and reducing carbon emission.
I think that the big takeaway as well was they had launched the climate action plan, that they have not made updates in the last 5 years. But that then after this event, it kicked us off to our hike. And this was our third hike. We had over 150 people sign up. We had over 100 women and close to 10 to 12 male allies that showed up. And my son was there leading the charge too with us, like networking, having the opportunity to really get us grounded. I felt really grounded by that experience, making it shake with all those people for the planet, and really just bonding together that way in nature. And Farah, how beautiful of a day was it?
The weather was on our side for sure, because it rained the rest of the week. But that particular day, the sun was out.
It wasn't too hot either.
It was perfect weather.
Absolutely perfect. Definitely want to give a shout out to our sponsors, Save the Redwood League.
And a special shout out to Smart Waste for being our lead sponsor of the hike, and for bringing all those delicious, yummy snacks. I think the refreshments were definitely well needed.
I'm so proud of everybody that brought their own water bottle, because, we do traditionally bring a pump there. I think for me, the major takeaway of the hike, once again, is really seeing everybody get connected to nature and why we're doing Climate Week. and honoring our planet and really having that opportunity to bond with each other and get to know people in a different way. And when you're moving, you really get the opportunity to make those genuine connections and see people in a different realm as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I completely agree with you on that. I think overall this week, of course, 10 days is a lot. There were a lot of events that WCS hosted. We hosted 2 movies in collaboration with Green Empowerment. For me, that was in some ways also one of the highlights personally, because one thing, especially in my world, we don't get to talk a lot about it are those underdeveloped communities, indigenous communities, and some of the challenges that they have. And what I thought was so beautiful about that movie was the concept of Minga. I walked away with, okay, this is something new that I've learned where the whole community actually comes together and create basically their own municipalities. Forget that we don't have any proper access to water, and forget that even the access that they have was being polluted by the mine that was downstream. But we had a community that was real problem solvers, getting together, encouraged by green empowerment to dig up holes, make the way for the pipe and show real, true leadership, right? That was a really great experience, and feel truly honored that we got to show it twice, not only in San Francisco, but also at SAP. So for me, that was one of the special, the kickoff, I'm not going to argue with that.
So before that, I had the privilege of being cast on a live improv show out on Earth, and it was a first time ever doing improv. I was cast to be this embodiment archetype. Think Queer Eye for the straight guy, but for climate people. And we had a protagonist that stated this question of like, where does climate innovation come from?
Mm-hmm.
And it was a very esoteric question. And so, if you're going to ask me an esoteric question, I'm going to answer it esoterically. I was able to embody and walk everybody through an experience with them talking to their ancestors. And for me, that was one of the things that really trajected me for the rest of the 19 or 18 events that I attended the rest of the week after that.
Mm-hmm.
That like led up to this amazing experience at the Oracle Park where we're meeting with elected officials,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then we're going into the hike with our community and our peoples. And then I'm going into a whole character theme. Like I'm going into a character. And
Right.
I really had the opportunity to embody me as an Indigenous woman and share why climate is so important
Mm-hmm.
in preservation and remembering things that are not new ways of thinking. And that theme showed up in
Mm-hmm.
almost every event that I went to after this,
Mm-hmm.
even with the movie The Force of Water
Mm-hmm.
that you just brought up.
Yeah, it's about community, the power of
Correct.
community. It's about togetherness, coming together and solving the problems, right? The glass is not half empty, but it's actually half full, that kind of mentality. And I think in these days and in these times, you need to hear that, especially a lot of our young people, when they're doing all of that doom scrolling and all that stuff. You can easily get down the rabbit hole, but there are solutions out there. There are innovators out there. And that actually brings us to the pitch competition. Wasn't that a
Yes.
fantastic event with all of those innovations that were being pitched and really solving, real problems?
NBC Biolabs hosted 10 women pitchers on stage, 5 VCs, over 110 people in attendance. Everybody was vibrating and eager at the edge of their seats, and it really showcased how not only are women in clean tech and sustainability thought leaders, but we're businesswomen. We're businesswomen. We're here to make innovation and make impact and also create business. To make it rain.
But yeah, right. We need to support our ladies. Yes.
We had a pitcher drop out the day before the pitch competition.
Mm-hmm.
The person that took their place won. So Margaret Lumley of Roco Water was on our waiting list, and Margaret showed up and won. I don't know about you, Farah, but that takeaway from that pitch competition is that when the opportunity says come, what do?
You show up.
You show up and then you
Show
win.
up. Yes.
She won, and Margaret, man, that to me says a lot about our organization. It says a lot about the women in our organization.
Yeah, the opportunities that we're giving women as well, right?
Exactly. I had the privilege of attending this Connecting Textiles to Climate Policymakers, Consumers to Make a Big Impact with Small Changes with Five Gyres Institute. And I had the opportunity to meet a couple individuals that really highlighted a lot around textiles and fibers. To me, I'm really interested in materials, so in alternative use of materials. And so one of my takeaways there is around this perception how many of us want to have textiles that maybe resemble other textiles. And what I mean by this is like linen, this is a linen shirt, or cottons. And one of the things that they talked about was like around how polyester is fossil fuel.
Yeah, sure.
And it really resonated with this parallel to this uproar around materials back when we were fighting over cotton and enslaving people over cotton. And then some of the similarities around fossil fuel. And I seen some of these parallels, and it just really ignited me in a way that I didn't expect from a textile.
It woke some emotions in you.
Yeah, it really ignited me in a way that led into the Detoxing from Plastic documentary screening at the Brower Center. The whole aspect of having to detox from plastic, Farah, this is
It's
mind-boggling to
quite
me.
an endeavor because plastic is everywhere in everything, right? Even in us. Even the
Yeah.
microplastics are in us. I think it's really about consumption in terms because it is unavoidable. So it's more about being mindful as to what it is that you purchase. Don't go through your items on a frequent basis. Try to prolong the system, whatever you have, right?
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to upgrade your phone
No.
whenever a new model comes out because it is unavoidable. I mean, it does get a bad rap, but plastic is so ingrained in everything, right?
In terms of like plastic and how we approach it, I'm just taking a step back and just evaluating myself more than beating myself up about things, even
Mhm.
about the clothes, right? Because
Mhm.
there's certain things that are just like literally unavoidable.
Mhm.
So I really don't want to browbeat people about textiles and clothes because sometimes access is an issue and a
Mhm.
challenge in itself, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
But Wednesday after SAP, I had the opportunity to go back out to San Francisco and be with Innovation Norway.
Our key sponsor of
Our
SF
key
Climate Week.
sponsor had the opportunity to be with Innovation Norway in San Francisco at Climate Tech in the Crosswinds, a reality check hosted by the Norway team. And, Rebecca has been a colleague of ours for quite some time now, over 5 years. And I had the opportunity to sit down with Kate Ridgens, Delta Arc Strategies. She's from DC, and just really talk about how people in other countries might be perceiving America. And
Okay. That must have been a very interesting
it
conversation.
was very interesting. We had the consulate of Norway in the house,
Mhm.
and Mary Collins from Climate Strategies was there as well as. But this conversation really enlightened me on how other countries are perceiving Americas, and I had to like say, hey,
Please share. Please share.
well,
Enlighten me.
so I think from the perception that I got is that other countries are doubting that they want to do business with America and that our economy is going to be stable and that Americans and that some Americans all think a certain way. And I had to like interject that we're only hearing from only certain people, not the everyday people, not the everyday moms and daughters and women that are in business, because unfortunately we don't have all the same access to have our voice be heard. So the narrative isn't really the real narrative. So, definitely there's a reality check with Europe's largest renewable energy sector and former DOE about policy. Where are we with our administration? What a winning climate tech looks like in 2026. The energy paradox around scaling and supplying the age of AI, and the geopolitical tension, the political outlook on how California's governor's race and midterms could influence policy, capital, and deployment. These are all things that were discussed, and it was juicy.
It was a really must have been a really interesting, very relevant, timely conversation. I'm of the opinion that given the fact that renewables, in particular solar power, have now reached grid parity, so I don't see a major reversal around that. And in my day job, I actually do track and evaluate and analyze how utilities are approaching this. Access to renewables, deploying renewables, I don't see that particularly slowing down. I guess the point that I'm trying to get to is it's not really the sentiment of businesses, not the sentiment of what is really motivating them in this sector, even the sentiment of customers, say customer as a utility or like an industrial customer per se. It's more about the economics.
Yeah, no, after that event, it was pretty heavy, right? And I needed
Yeah.
to kind of break into some fun because it started for me earlier that day at my customers' locations for Smart Waste, and then went over to SAP and then followed up with the event I just shared with you. So I was really looking to get grounded and to have some fun and celebrate Earth Day because it was actually that Wednesday. And so I had found this event on Luma called Grounded, and it was a dance party at Archaea, and it was hosted by Black and Climate, Lightly Toasted, and Climate Vine. And the venue was awesome. The music was lit. It really had this rhythms of the diaspora of the Afro house and Afro Desi and Indo house and dance hall and reggaeton, and I love that kind of stuff. And I had the opportunity just to be networking and having fun. And sure enough, in walks Wade, in walks Nina, Airplant Nina, in walks Evan, founder of Climate Base, and we're just vibing in this place. Clementina, the sustainable Latina, shows up, and it was a vibe of getting grounded and dancing together with people in climate. I want to dance with them every day of the week. It really did do that, where it brought just a full day of had a lot of heavy stuff, but then to be able to kind of let it out and dance it out with other people that were
Decompress.
to kind of decompress. It was, man, meeting them, it was awesome. That following Thursday, Smart Waste had an amazing event with Bloom Energy where we do a cleanup with them to honor our nature preserve here in Fremont. And we had about 25 people that showed up with Bloom Energy and Smart Waste.
Lovely.
And we went out and helped clear some debris by the animals there that are still, cows that are still running around free here in Fremont, California. That was pretty amazing. And then after that, I went to this art of repair. Once again, I'm really interested in this idea of circular economy. And I got to see my good friend Peter at the Fix It Clinic and Emily Watts at Cobbler. They talked about this framework around repairability and building products with the ability to be repaired, and the discipline of design around the extending the life of a product through proper design, and how that connects to economy, and how that really gives everyday person agency as well. I really found that dialogue really, really exciting. Just because, once again, I got to lean into the circular economy. Climate Week, I'm also a student, right? I get the opportunity to go and learn. After I did that event, I went to this really cool event. Last year, Lisa Ann and I and Trish, we went to this divestment party, and it was the solar punks. And let me tell you, they know how to throw a party. They believe money is power, honey, and it's yours too. And it's the divestment party. They do this so you can, have this understanding around other alternatives to investing. And they talked about the evil banker, and they had a full-on drag show, and they made it so much fun talking about the dirty dozen banks and how easy it can be to divest your money and invest in other banking systems. And Solar Punk is a career-ran climate education working to make a ecological future irresistible. And also they support a regenerative farm in Sonoma, which I so love that they do that. And being in this space, my major takeaway is that you can talk solar, you could talk drag, and you could talk money while eating a charcuterie board of organic goat cheese and fig jam was everything. Everything.
All in one event. Well, you got to keep it entertaining. So sounds like there was a good mix of educational events, some serious events, but also some fun events too. I think, yeah, it's important to keep certain aspects of it light because we are, after all, humans.
Right? I mean, that's one of the reasons why I think we do the Climate Connects every month, right? Like we do Climate Connects with Trellis, our partnership, Rebecca. We do this. It's very casual, 3 to 5, the last Friday of every month.
And there was a huge turnout.
Yeah, we had over 150 people show up.
Wow.
And some of these individuals that come, these individuals are leaders in the climate space, right, that are doing things. And this gives us just an opportunity not to have some formal event. No, we're just literally just hanging out, drinking our coffee, drinking your beer or whatever. And some of them might be outside smoking a joint. For all I know, it is San Francisco, right? And so that was so much fun to have this kind of connection with 150 people. And it was the biggest one that we've had
so far.
So, but then we leaned into the karaoke.
My gosh.
Nice.
That was such a memorable night. Parul joined us, our chapter lead from San Francisco. It was super fun. There were some real good singers as well.
Oh,
I did not
yes.
expect that at a karaoke bar, to be honest.
I did. I
Oh, you
expected
did?
a
Okay.
full-on show. I expected it. We had the opportunity to meet some new people from previous events, and then Clementina showed up, which
Yes,
is awesome.
Clementina, right. Sarah, you have to talk about the song that Clementina chose, Toxic.
Okay, so Trish, Clementina is a force to be messed with, man. She stays on brand, but not only that, she chose Toxic, that song, and she gets up there and she starts. First of all, she's like, Women in Clean Tech is here. We're here to talk to you about how plastic is toxic.
Nice. Yep.
And she goes on and on. She said, it's from your head to your testicles. And every man in that place came up to Clementina and was like, tell me more about how plastic is in our testicles.
Is that actually true?
Is that true? And she was like, yes, it's true. And they were like listening to her. Every man was paying attention, Trish.
I thought it would get their attention, and I don't know why no one's listening.
Well, they did
And then-
that day.
Yes. So me, Selena, and Parul, we got on stage to sing a Britney Spears song, Baby Hit Me One More Time or something. And after we finished our song, someone in the audience, she goes, I didn't know that the Spice Girls were back. I'm like, what do you mean the Spice Girls? It was a Britney Spears song.
It went way over Farah's head.
It went over my head.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah, it was full on Spice Girl right there at that moment.
Right.
I mean, that's probably next year a good idea to do a Spice Girls, maybe change the lyrics to a Spice Girls song, because I've
I'm
done
telling
that.
you.
That's
I like
fun.
that
Make it
idea.
like use the melody and just change the lyrics, and then you really get
Yes.
people's attention when you do that.
The last event that we did yesterday with the Eco Edit with SF Fashion, I think it was a top-notch event. It was extremely well organized. It was well attended, well publicized in terms of the back end, and I got really amazing feedback. And we did our first ever silent auctions, which was a success. So thank you to all the donors that donated in kind to support women in clean tech and sustainability. We will be doing a silent auction again. So if you're interested in being a donor and donating in kind things to our future silent auction, please reach out to myself or Farah.
Yeah. So before we move on, I also want to invite the tarot card reader. She was so on point when I saw that.
You were so fascinated with
I was
this
so
lady.
fascinated by that.
Can you tell us why you're so fascinated with
I
her?
am so fascinated. Well, you drive by one of these shops and you're kind of kind of like, oh, should I go in? Should I go and check it out? But there it was, quite accessible to everyone to do. And I'm not obviously not going to share what she told me, but from the card deck I picked, from the assumptions she made, and I didn't share anything, was very much on point. So I'm impressed.
Yeah.
I was definitely impressed.
Wow. Well, I'm interested, Trish, in, we ran through from Thursday when Farah and I, started at the Oracle Park to, closing out with the Eco Edit with SF Fashion. Tell us about some of the events you attended. I know you attended events that we did not have the opportunity to
Yeah.
attend.
A lot of events around deep tech startups with activate.org and Autodesk Foundation, and ran into a lot of our pitchers from Monday's pitch competition, especially at Activate. Ran into 4 of them there. 3 were presenting, including the
Wow.
winner, Margaret, and ran into Liz with the City of Berkeley. And we were talking about their startup program that they've got coming and that we want to do more events in Berkeley. The Energy Summit was all day on Thursday. So Emily Cole and I drove up to that one, and that was amazing. And there were some people from all of the organizations that we're working with in SF, and was talking about their net zero goal for buildings in San Francisco is 2030. I sent him a note after to just confirm, like, did I hear that right? And he said yes. That was impressive. And I did some research, and that's aggressive, across not just the US. That's even in Europe, that's aggressive. So, like, how do we help? That's what I asked him. Let's do something here. We're about impact, this organization, and we have an army of women that are ready to support. And they were there. It was great to see all kinds of people at the Energy Summit coming up to me. Emily was like, "Are you a celebrity?" I'm like, "No, I'm with Women in Clean Tech."
Right.
So, what was like one of your major takeaways from the Energy Summit that because I didn't get the opportunity to attend, so I'm curious to know about what one of your major takeaways from.
Yeah, I mean, they talked about a lot of electrification, right? That's going to be huge for this buildings reaching net zero. There was a company that was talking about eliminating wildfires, but also like a unit that sits on the actual transformers within cities to monitor for
Interesting.
fires, because that's affecting everyone, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so, some interesting technologies. Panels were all really good. Adrian Pierce with New Sun Road, our own WCS celebrity, one of the many,
Yes.
a moderator on actually the most popular panel. And
I'm not
of
surprised.
course, just so many great opportunities. And so I don't regret limping through SF Climate Week on crutches.
For those of us that did not know and don't know this, Trish, how many events did you attend
7
on
on
crutches?
crutches.
And how many steps did you walk in one
I
day
mean,
that you
well,
texted me?
so I think all of them, it was 25,000 steps, but who knows what it really was. It felt like a
A
marathon.
billion.
But it was worth it. And I wouldn't change it. My only sadness is I didn't make it to the karaoke, because that was like the icing on the top, and I just had to rest. You have to listen when your
Yeah.
body says that's enough. But it was worth it. Honestly, the universe tried to slow me down, and I said, no,
No way.
we don't
No
do
way.
that.
There's no slowing down, Trish.
There's no slowing down. The sediment of my observation of women in clean tech and sustainability is that we're some committed people.
Yeah.
We are some committed individuals that, will go over and beyond. Trish, you went over and beyond where many people would have had a reason and an excuse and a justification, a rightful
Right. Yeah.
justification, but that shows commitment.
Yeah.
Farah, over and beyond, getting us in at the opening
Yeah.
and slugging banners, carpooling
Into the
day
stadium.
after day.
Yeah, there was a lot of back and forth, but yeah, it was totally worth it for sure. I mean, I think especially in this climate, being somewhere where everybody's working towards a common goal, has a common purpose. And like I said early in the podcast too, is that, the glass is not half empty, it's actually half full. So you
Exactly.
need to go into
Yeah.
this with a positive mindset. Because as you had witnessed, Trish, even at the Energy Summit event, there are many solutions
Mhm.
out there. There are many, many solutions out there.
And I'm proud that we're supporting them. And the women that I ran into, they appreciate our support. And
Oh,
I talked them up every time somebody came up to Margaret's booth or table at the activate. I said, "Oh, did you know that she won the pitch competition on Monday?" And she's like, "You are a great hype woman. I'm gonna bring
That's
you with me
right.
everywhere." I said, "Well, it's so
That's
true.
right.
I mean, this
Yes.
is actually true."
And ending of this conversation, because we're not ending our Climate Week adventure. We actually are just getting started because this is a subsequent Climate Week to our launch in DC. We launched our DC chapter during SF Climate Week, right? So not only were we doing all these 20 plus events that many of us attended, okay, our back end, we're launching some of our other chapters. Allison Larry, we got to give her a big shout out
Yeah.
for our chapter chair,
Amazing.
leading our global expansion, taking us from 15 liters to 60 liters in 90 days.
Wow.
That's what we're talking about, global
Amazing.
expansion. Started off in LA, then we went to SF. Now we're going to be going to London in June, the London Climate Week. And then after London Climate Week is Pacific Northwest Climate Week in July. And then after July, we will be attending New York Climate Week in September. And then after September, we will be in San Diego Climate Week in October. And we will do it all again in 2027. So
We are unstoppable.
exactly. So crutches, rain,
Yeah. Nothing's getting in the way.
nothing is going to get in the way of our determination and of us showing up. I was told that word on the street is that we come in swarms. Word on the street is when you see one of us, there's probably 10 of us that are close by.
Yeah.
We're a community and we're here to show up, and you invite us, we're going to come. So big shout out to SF Climate Week, to Women in Clean Tech and Sustainability, Trish, Farah, Nagashri, Sadia, Allison, Caroline, Parul, Ali, all of our members that showed up.
Yvonne and Emily on fundraising were
Yvonne, Clementina, Julie Bush, all of our members. We would not have had a successful Climate Week without everyone's contributions.
Right.
People may have seen me on stage, but the only reason why I was on stage is to represent WCS, period.
And I think this year was particularly special because we are marking our 15th year.
Correct.
Seeing the journey, seeing how far we've come along over the course of those many years. Sarah, when we started this podcast series, you and Lisa Ann enlightened us with all of the different pivots you've had to make in order to sustain 15 years as well during the pandemic, transitioning from in-person events to now virtual events. And having an 8-year track record in pitch competition is also quite remarkable. You know, many come and go, but we are still standing strong.
That's right.
We invite everyone to join our growing community. It doesn't matter where you are. You can
Right.
be in Alabama. You can be, in Chicago. Help support us. Start a community. Women in Clean Tech and Sustainability are there to support you. Nice.
Yeah.
And Sarah, do you have any last parting words?
I know I do. So my one word is to remember, is remembering. And the reason why I say that, it goes back to our remembrance to things, meaning that a lot of the answers that we are looking for are not new answers. A lot of the solutions that we have or that we need, actually, we're already aware of them. And to remember that why we are doing what we're doing, which is people. And really that takeaway for me is why I met 1,500 people, did 20 events in 10 days, is because I wanted to meet people and I wanted to hear what people were talking about. And every different background, from every different vertical, from all the different types of things that we're interested in. And so it allowed me to have an opportunity to remember some things that I already knew, and to remind people that some of the things that they're saying that are new, they're not really new. The circular economy and this traditional or this old, what people are saying new way of thinking, is really an old way of thinking of not extracting things and having a regenerative way of thinking. And our planet is a regenerative planet, and it can actually fix itself. So for me, it's about remembrance and remembering and taking that opportunity to just reflect.
Mine would be actually 3 words: strength in community. I think this is what really SF Climate Week reflects. All the events that we attended, how we were cheering the women innovators during our pitch competition, how we as a community did the hike on Saturday on a nice, beautiful, sunny day and got to really cherish where we live, got to cherish the beautiful Golden Gate Bridge, which of course is a symbol of San Francisco, as well as I'll go back to that movie, Force of Water. Seeing this indigenous community in Ecuador coming together and solving their water issue, seeing this powerful women leader knocking on the neighbor's door and telling him essentially that you didn't put in your part. So for the next month or so, you will actually have to pay a little bit extra to have access to water. Yeah, so Minga, a strengthened community. That is what I would describe. We have our own Minga going on. That's how I would describe as a climate week. Over to you, Trish.
Thanks. Yeah, I would say you stole mine, but really, so community was what came to mind. But with that is the momentum that our community is creating, the power, the energy, the strength that's coming from the community. It's the momentum that we've been watching. That was also a word that resonated after the Verge conference, that they kind of were really driving that messaging home and keep working towards that. And I was feeling the effects of that momentum at Climate Week. So that felt good. And our energy and our power and our strength was shining through.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. Wonderful.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, ladies.
That's it for today's episode of WCS Talks Unplugged, where we share real stories, real solutions for the mind and the planet. A huge thank you to our guest for joining us and for the work she is doing to move the clean economy forward. And thank you for listening, for showing up with curiosity, hope, and a desire to make a difference. If you enjoyed this conversation, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with someone in your network who cares about climate, justice, innovation, or building a more sustainable world. This podcast is brought to you by Women in Clean Tech and Sustainability, a global community supporting the next generation of climate leaders. To learn more, become a member, or get involved, visit womenincleantechsustainability.org. Until next time, this is WCS Talks Unplugged. Stay inspired, stay engaged, and as always, stay unplugged.